suppose that will be any good." "What is it? What do you mean?" "It gave him a good deal of trouble to get the lady into the wagon because she had fainted again. He lost his glove in doing it. I have it downstairs in my room, for I sleep downstairs again since the lady has gone." Muller had risen from his chair and walked over to the old writing desk which stood beside one window. There were several sheets of ordinary brown paper on it, and sharp pointed pencil, and also something not usually found on writing desks, a piece of bread from which some of the inside had been taken. "Everything as I expected it," he said to himself. "The young lady made up the package in the last few moments that she was left alone here." He turned again to the old woman and commanded her to lead him downstairs. "What sort of a carriage was it in which they took the lady away?" he asked as they went down. "A closed coupe." "Did you see the number?" "No, sir, but the carriage was very shabby, and so was the driver." "Was he an old man?" "He was about 40 years old, but he looked like a man who drank. He had a light colored overcoat on." "Good. Is this your room?" "Yes, sir." They were now down in the lower corridor, where they found Amster walking up and down. The woman opened the door of the little room and took a glove from a cupboard. Muller put it in his pocket and told the woman not to leave the house for anything, as she might be sent for to come to the police station at any moment. Then he went out into the street with Amster. When they were outside in the sunlight, he looked at the glove. It was a remarkably small size, made for a man with a slender, delicate hand, not at all in accordance with the large, stout body of the man described by the landlady. Muller put his hand into the glove and found something pushed up into the middle finger. He took it out and found that it was a crumpled tramway ticket. "Look out for a shabby old closed coupe, with a driver about 40 years old who looks like a drunkard and wears a light overcoat. If you find such a cab, engage it and drive in it to the nearest police station. Tell them there to hold the man until further notice. If the cab is not free, at least take his number. And one thing more, but you will know that yourself. The cab we are looking for will have new glass in the right hand window." Thus Muller spoke to his companion as he put the glove in his pocket and unfolded the tramway ticket. Amster understood that they had found the starting point of the drive of the night before. "I will go to all coupe stands," he said eagerly. "Yes, but we may be able to find it quicker than that." Muller took the little notebook which he was now carrying in his pocket, and took from it the tramway ticket which was in the cover. He compared it with the one he had just found. They were both marked for the same hour of the day and for the same ride. "Did the man use them?" asked Amster. The detective nodded. "How can they help us?" "Somewhere on this stretch of street railroad you will probably find the stand of the cab we are looking for. The man who hired it evidently arrived on the 6:30 train at the West Station. I have reason to believe that he does not live here, and then took the street car to this corner. The last ticket is marked for yesterday. In the car he probably made his plans to hire a cab, so you had better stay along the line of the car tracks. You will find me in room 7, Police Headquarters, at noon to day. The authorities have already taken up the case. You may have something to tell us then. Good luck to you." Muller hurried on after he had taken a quick breakfast in a little cafe. He went at once to his headquarters, made his report there, and then drove to Fellner's house. The latter was awaiting him with great impatience. There the detective gathered much valuable information about the first marriage of Asta Langen's long dead father. It was old Berner who could tell him the most about these long vanished days. When he reached his office at headquarters again, he found telegrams in great number awaiting him. They were from all the hospitals and insane asylums in the entire district, but in none of them had there been a patient fitting the description of the vanished girl. Neither the commissioner nor Muller was surprised at this negative result. They were also not surprised at all that the other branches of the police department had been able to discover so little about the disappearance of the young lady. They were aware that they had to deal with a criminal of great ability who would be careful not to fall into the usual slips made by his kind. There was no news from the cab either, although several detectives were out looking for it. It was almost nightfall when Amster ran breathlessly into room number 7. "I have him. He's waiting outside across the way." This was Amster's report. Muller threw on his coat hastily. "You didn't pay him, did you? On a cold day like this the drivers don't like to wait long in any one place." "No danger. I haven't money enough for that," replied Amster with a sad smile. Muller did not hear him as he was already outside, but the commissioner with whom he had been talking, and to whom Muller had already spoken of his voluntary assistance, entered into a conversation with Amster, and said to him finally: "I will take it upon myself to guarantee your future, if you are ready to enter the Secret Service under Muller's orders. If you wish to do this you can stay right on now, for I think we will need you in this case." Amster bowed in agreement. His life had been troubled, his reputation darkened by no fault of his own, and the work he was doing now had awakened an interest and an ability that he did not know he possessed. He was more than glad to accept the offer made by the official. Muller was already across the street and had laid his hand upon the door of the cab, when the driver turned to him and said crossly: "Some one else has ordered me, but I am not going to wait in this cold. Get in if you want to." "All right. Now tell me first where you drove to last evening with the sick lady and her companion." The man looked astonished, but found his tongue again in a moment. "And who are you?" he asked calmly. "We will tell you that upstairs in the police station," answered Muller equally calmly, and ordered the man to drive through the gateway into the inner courtyard. He himself got into the wagon, and in the course of the short drive he had made a discovery. He had found a tiny glass stopper, such as is used in perfume bottles. He could understand from this why the odor of perfume which had now become familiar to him was still so strong inside the old cab. Also why it was so strong on the delicate handkerchief. Asta Langen had taken the stopper from the bottle in her pocket so as to leave a trail of odor behind her. CHAPTER 3